Many of us live with a quiet, persistent suspicion that we are broken, that we are missing a vital piece of ourselves, like the intellect to navigate it, the courage to face it, or the heart to feel it. This feeling of absence triggers a deep instinct to find a wizard. We look for an external authority, someone who projects the power and wisdom we think we lack. These figures command our attention through sheer volume. They are loud and certain, creating a theatrical spectacle designed to keep us in a state of awe. We surrender our agency to these booming voices because an external protector feels more manageable than facing our own perceived emptiness. This wizard often takes the form of internal trauma. It manifests as a booming, abusive inner monologue that insists we are too damaged to survive without its constant, restrictive guidance. On a larger scale, we see this in macro-institutional systems. Large, calcified organizations use the exact same mechanics of theater and absolute certainty to demand our compliance. This map shows the seam of institutionalization, where flexible structure calcifies into rigid bureaucracy, a failing system refusing to admit it. To hide this collapse, the institution projects the illusion of the garden, original order, masking its own decay. Whether the wizard is an internal trauma or a massive organization, the rule is the same. You must never look behind the curtain or question the source of the noise. These systems rely on keeping us in the audience. They require our blind belief as the price for a protection they aren't actually providing. Rigid systems are vulnerable to pure, irreverent curiosity. It takes a single Toto figure, small enough to be ignored, to start pulling the threads. The most effective transgression is simply ignoring the booming warnings and pulling back the curtain. The moment the drape moves, the projection cuts out. The terrifying face of flame vanishes, exposing the unglamorous reality of the backstage. There is no omnipotent force behind the curtain. There is only a fragile, exhausted entity operating smoke pots and microphones to maintain a facade of power. This reveals the core vulnerability of any wizard. Its strength is entirely dependent on our willingness to believe in its stagecraft. Curious, we have to ask why an entity this ordinary felt the need to project such a terrifying facade in the first place. The booming voice is a defense mechanism. It is born from an ancient fear of being seen as small, tired, and entirely mediocre. This insecurity drives the need for total control. The wizard bellows because he believes that if his subject saw his reality, they would leave him behind. This pattern shows up everywhere. The voices that yell the loudest, whether it's an internal trauma response or a leader in a boardroom, are almost always the ones most terrified of their own weakness. When we see booming aggression as a camouflage for vulnerability, the system loses its ability to terrify us. Eventually, the wizard hands out fixes, the medals, the diplomas, the badges of honor. But when the theater ends, these reveal themselves as hollow props. The seekers in the story already demonstrated the very things they were looking for. The scarecrow was already thinking. The lion was already brave. The Tin Man's heart was already breaking. The wizard didn't grant them these capacities. He merely provided a formal label for the power they were already using. Trauma and failing institutions take credit for the strength we have carried since long before we were convinced we were broken. Feel deeply and act bravely has belonged to you from the very first day. True power isn't a gift from a booming voice. It is what remains when we stop believing in the show.